I believe that we cannot achieve unity with having different schools in Malaysia. So maybe YB Liu, as part of the government this day, can give his views on the government's policy in terms of education. Whether can we have unity schools beyond 2020? And maybe last one. Maybe YBKJ and YB Nuriza also can give their views on this. Thank you.
If we wanted a single school system, which personally I think is the best way to foster, not the best way, one of the best ingredients to foster unity. I mean, it just makes sense. If you have kids in the same school playing together, it's intuitive that they will become more united in the future, right? I believe that it does foster unity, and it's one of the most powerful ways to foster unity. I remember I had a conversation with Lee Kuan Yew before he passed away. So I said, and Singapore by no means is a paragon of unity, but I said, what did you do to try to address unity? He said 3 things. One is education. We only have national schools in Singapore. It doesn't have vernacular schools. It allows for international schools, but there's a small quota for Singaporeans to go to national schools. It's just national schools Singapore. Secondly, national service. So they have to go for military service. Singaporean men have to go for 2 years national service. And 3, he said the HDBs, public housing. So he doesn't allow for ghettos, single racial ghettos. So it has to be well mixed as possible in Singapore. So we missed the education one. If we wanted a single education system, we should have done it in 1957 or 1963. But the terms of our union, so to speak, allowed for vernacular schools. Once you allow for vernacular schools, it's difficult to unravel it. See, if somebody said, today, we have one single education system, which means in the mind of certain people, no more Chinese vernacular schools, no more Tamil vernacular schools. Then somebody will come and say, what about your madrasa? What about your sekolah pondok? You have to get rid of that also. And then parents who send their kids to international school, private schools, what happens to that as well? So it's a policy nightmare, not to mention a nightmare in terms of politics, So I believe it's a non-starter. What is a moonshot goal, however, is national schools becoming the automatic school of choice in 20 years or in 30 years. That it's so good that you want to send your kids there. So that's what we have to aspire to. I don't know how we're going to get there. That's a real moonshot. That's a Mars shot, if you ask me right now. But that should be the moonshot. But beating the drums of single school system, as I philosophically agree with, it's tough because politically you've missed the moment.
In terms of education, I think ultimately we have to come back to one important philosophical question. Do we believe that we can only master one language, or we can actually master multiple languages? Now, if we can resolve that question, then at some point, and it is happening, among Chinese school, there are more Malay students in Chinese school than Chinese students in national school. Now, if the national schools are school of choice, which is really good, multilingual, multicultural, I don't see that as a problem. And at some point, if the Chinese school has 50% Malay students, it's a national school. Of course, it's very far-fetched. But the point is, once we no longer fear each other's languages, once we no longer fear the others, but we see that as a heritage of the nation. We see that each of us can speak multiple languages, each of us can master multiple languages, and this is the characteristic of the nation. Then the questions of single schools and all this will not arise.